I watched my daughter-in-law hurl a leather suitcase into the lake and drive away without a single glance back. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but then I saw the splash. The water rippled, dark and heavy. My name is Eleanor Whitlock, though everyone calls me Ellie. I'm 63 years old, and I've been living alone since I buried my only child, Marcus, 8 months ago. My little house near Lake Juniper in rural Georgia used to be full of laughter. Now it's just walls and echoes. That September afternoon, I was sitting on my porch, sipping sweet tea and watching the light move over the water. The day was still and quiet until I heard tires on the dirt road. Dust rose behind a silver sedan. My heart sank when I recognized it, Sloane's car. My daughter-in-law, Marcus's widow. She was driving too fast, way too fast for that twisting road. When she stopped at the edge of the lake, her movements were wild, desperate. She jumped out, slammed the trunk open, and dragged out a brown leather suitcase, the same one I had given her as a wedding gift years ago. I called her name, Sloane. She didn't hear me or didn't want to. Her hair was a mess, her face red. She struggled to lift the suitcase as if it carried 1,000 pounds of guilt. Then she swung it once, twice, and threw it into the lake. The splash shattered the stillness. The suitcase floated for a moment, half submerged, then began to sink slowly, like it didn't want to disappear, but had no choice. Sloane ran back to her car and sped away, gravel flying. I stood frozen. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears. What had I just witnessed? Why would she throw a suitcase into the lake? Something inside me whispered, "Go." I kicked off my slippers and ran down the porch steps. The ground was soft and muddy, pulling at my shoes. My knees ached, my breath came short, but I didn't stop. The lake shimmered ahead, silent again, hiding its secret. The suitcase was still floating a few yards from shore. I stepped into the water without thinking. It was cold enough to steal my breath. Mud sucked at my feet. The water reached my waist, then my chest. I grabbed the handle of the suitcase. It was heavy. I pulled with all my strength until it reached the shore. And then I heard it. A faint, muffled cry from inside. My blood ran cold. "No, no, please God," I whispered. My hands shook so hard I could barely touch the zipper. It was wet, jammed, refusing to move. Come on," I cried, tugging again and again until finally the zipper gave way. When I opened the suitcase, my world stopped. Inside, wrapped in a soaked powder blue blanket, was a baby. A tiny, motionless baby. His lips were blue. His skin pale like wax. For a heartbeat, I thought he was already gone. I pressed my fingers to his chest. Nothing. I put my ear to his mouth and felt the faintest puff of air. He was alive. Barely. I lifted him out of the suitcase, cradling him against my chest. He was so small, so cold, so fragile. His umbilical cord was still tied off with a piece of rough twine. Whoever had done this hadn't even used proper medical care. "Hold on, little one," I whispered. "Hold on." I ran toward the house. My legs slipped in the mud. My heart pounded. I didn't feel the cuts on my feet, the pain in my chest, or the tears burning my eyes. I only knew I had to keep that baby breathing. Inside the house, I grabbed the phone and dialed 911. My fingers trembled. "There's a baby," I gasped. "I found a baby in the lake. He's not breathing right." The operator's calm voice guided me through every step. "Lay him flat. Dry him. Wrap him in something warm." I cleared the kitchen table, dishes crashing to the floor. I dried the baby with a towel, my hands clumsy and frantic. His skin began to warm slightly. He whimpered, a small broken sound that made me burst into tears. "They're coming," the operator said. "Help is on the way." Those few minutes felt like hours. I rocked the baby against me, humming an old lullaby I hadn't sung since Marcus was small. "You're not alone," I whispered. "Someone loves you. Hold on." Then I heard sirens. Red and white lights flashed through the windows. I ran to the door. 2 paramedics rushed inside, a gray-bearded man and a young woman with quick, sure hands. The woman took the baby gently from me. Severe hypothermia, she murmured to her partner. Possible drowning. They worked fast. Oxygen mask, wires, small monitors. The man looked at me. Are you coming with us? Yes, I said, and climbed into the ambulance. We sped down the road to Atlanta Medical Center. The siren wailed, echoing my heartbeat. I couldn't take my eyes off the baby, so tiny among all the blinking machines. How did you find him? The paramedic asked. In a suitcase, I whispered. Someone threw him into the lake. Did you see who it was? My mouth went dry. How could I say it aloud? Sloan, my daughter-in-law, the woman who had cried at Marcus's funeral, had just tried to kill a baby. Yes, I said finally. I saw her. When we arrived, the emergency doors burst open. Doctors and nurses surrounded the baby, shouting quick orders. They disappeared through double doors, leaving me alone, shaking, soaked, and terrified. A nurse led me to a waiting room. She was kind, middle-aged, named Diane. She gave me a blanket and hot tea. You did the right thing, she said softly. But her words felt hollow. I didn't feel heroic. I felt broken. 2 hours passed before a young doctor came out. His eyes were tired. His hand smelled of soap. The baby's alive, he said, but critical. The next 48 hours are crucial. I nodded, unable to speak. Then the police arrived. A woman detective introduced herself as Sergeant Ava Johnson. She asked me to tell everything from the start: the car, the suitcase, Sloan, the lake. I answered as best I could. When I finished, she looked at me quietly and said, "We'll need you to come in tomorrow for a formal statement. Please don't contact your daughter-in-law." That night, I stayed in the waiting room. I couldn't go home. I couldn't leave that baby alone. I sat there all night under the buzzing fluorescent light, watching the clock, praying for a child I didn't even know. At 3 a.m., my pastor, Reverend Thomas, arrived. He sat beside me without saying a word for a long time. Finally, he whispered, "God tests us in strange ways, Ellie." "This doesn't feel like a test," I said. "It feels like punishment." He didn't argue. He just stayed. And somehow his quiet presence helped me breathe. When morning came, Diane brought me coffee and a sandwich I couldn't taste. "The baby's stable," she said. That's good news. I clung to those words like a lifeline. At 9 a.m., Detective Ava came back. She looked serious, holding a folder. "Ellie, we need to talk." "What is it?" I asked. "There are inconsistencies," she said. She placed a photo on the table, Sloan's car, caught on a supermarket security camera 30 minutes away from the lake, 10 minutes after I swore I saw her there. "That's impossible," I said. "It can't be." Ava studied me. "Are you sure it was her?" "I saw her," I said again, but even as the words left my mouth, doubt crept in. What if grief was making me see things? What if my anger toward Sloan had painted her guilt? Ava leaned closer. "Do you blame her for your son's death?" The question hit me like a slap. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Please answer." "Marcus had died in a car crash 8 months ago. They said it was an accident, rainy night, slick road, loss of control. Sloan survived with barely a scratch. I had always wondered why. I had always felt something wasn't right." "I don't know," I whispered. Ava closed her notebook. "We'll be in touch." After she left, Diane sat beside me. "You should go home," she said kindly. "Get some rest." But I couldn't. I kept seeing that baby's face, pale, still fighting to breathe. I had pulled him from death once. I couldn't abandon him now. Hours later, a doctor came with new information. "We ran tests," she said. "We may need your authorization for more." "I'm not family," I told her. "You're the only one here," she replied. "Child Services will take over soon, but for now we need consent." I signed the forms with trembling hands. Anything to keep him alive. 2 hours after that, a young social worker named Marcy arrived. She smiled politely, clipboard in hand. "Miss Whitlock, I need to ask a few questions." She asked about my income, my health, whether I lived alone. When she asked about depression, I hesitated. After my son died, I took medication for a while, I admitted. She nodded, writing something down. Thank you. The baby will need a temporary home when he's released. He'll stay in state custody until we find a certified foster family. State custody. The words felt like knives. That baby, the one I'd pulled from a suitcase, would become just another file in the system. What if I wanted to care for him? I asked. Marcy looked surprised. You? Miss Whitlock, you're 63 years old. You're not a foster parent, and you're involved in a criminal investigation. It's not possible. I saved his life, I whispered. I understand, she said gently, but rules are rules. That night, I finally went home. The house felt emptier than ever. I sat by the window staring at the lake, remembering the moment the suitcase hit the water. I wondered if I'd ever know the truth. Then, near sunset, my phone rang. It was the hospital. Diane's voice trembled. Ellie, you need to come back, now. My heart froze. I grabbed my keys and ran to the car, praying the whole way. The drive blurred past, my hands gripping the wheel, tears stinging my eyes. When I burst through the hospital doors, Diane was waiting. Her face was pale. Is he? I couldn't finish the sentence. He's alive, she said quickly, but you need to come with me. She led me down a corridor to a small conference room. Inside sat Detective Ava, Marcy the social worker, and a man in a suit with papers spread before him. Ava looked up. Ellie, we got the results of the DNA test. I frowned. DNA? Why? The man in the suit spoke softly. Because the baby shares 25% of his DNA with you. I stared at him, not understanding. Ellie, Ava said quietly, the baby you found is your grandson. My breath caught in my throat. The room spun. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. My grandson? I whispered. Yes, Ava said. Marcus's son. The world around me went silent. The man in the suit nodded calmly. I know this is difficult, Miss Whitlock, but the DNA results are conclusive. The baby shares approximately 25% of his genetic material with you. That means he's the biological child of your son. I stared at him, shaking my head. No, that can't be. Marcus never said anything. Sloane never said anything. She would have told me if she was pregnant. Detective Ava leaned forward. Ellie, according to our investigation, Sloane was already pregnant when Marcus died. She must have hidden it from everyone. My hands went cold. She was pregnant, and she never told anyone? Yes, Ava said. The doctor believes she gave birth 3 days ago, completely alone, possibly at a remote cabin. The baby's umbilical cord was tied off with twine. There was no medical supervision. I covered my mouth, fighting back the urge to cry. That poor baby, I whispered. That's why she threw him in the lake. She wanted to erase the last piece of Marcus. Ava looked at me with sad eyes. We don't know her motive yet, but we need your help to find her. The man in the suit continued. I'm Dr. Ernest Soto, a forensic geneticist. We ran the DNA test twice to confirm. There's no mistake, Mrs. Whitlock. That baby is your grandson. I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. The baby who nearly died in my arms was Marcus's child, my blood, my family. My knees weakened. Diane quickly pulled a chair for me. I sat down, trembling, staring at the wall but seeing nothing. Dr. Soto spoke softly. The baby is stable for now, but he's still fragile. He'll need care, warmth, and constant attention. I looked up at him, my eyes burning with tears. Then I'll be there. I'll take care of him. Marcy, the young social worker, shook her head. It's not that simple, Miss Whitlock. The baby is under state protection until the investigation is complete. We need to confirm the situation legally. I don't care about legal papers, I snapped. That's my grandson. I'm not letting strangers take him away. Ava placed a gentle hand on my arm. Ellie, listen to me. We believe Sloane might be involved not only in the baby's attempted murder, but also in Marcus's death. My head jerked up. What? she sighed. There are inconsistencies in your son's car accident report. We're reopening the case. My mouth went dry. Inconsistencies? The brakes on his car were tampered with, Ava said quietly. Someone sabotaged them. The room went silent. I stared at her, numb. You're saying Marcus didn't die in an accident? Ava shook her head. No, he was murdered. I pressed my trembling hands against my face. The memories came flooding back, the night of the crash, the phone call, Sloane crying at the hospital, her fake sobs. I had hugged her. I had believed her tears. She killed him, I whispered. She killed my boy. Ava didn't answer, but her silence told me everything. Diane knelt beside me. Ellie, breathe. Please. I looked up at the detective. You have to find her. You have to bring her to justice. We will, Ava said firmly. But right now, we need to make sure you and the baby are safe. Sloane has disappeared. Her house is empty. Her phone is off. She transferred all her money out of her bank account. We believe she's on the run. I felt dizzy. Everything I thought I knew had collapsed in a single day. My son's gone, I said quietly. And his wife tried to kill their baby. What kind of person does that? No one knows yet, Ava replied. But we'll find out. That night, I went to see the baby again. Diane helped me put on a sterile gown and guided me to the NICU. The room was filled with soft beeping and quiet whispers. And there he was, my grandson. So small, wrapped in wires and tubes, but alive. He's a fighter, Diane said, smiling softly. I pressed my hand to the glass. Tears blurred my vision. Marcus, I whispered, you had a son. You had a beautiful boy. Diane looked at me. He needs a name for the hospital records. Do you have one in mind? Marcus once told me he wanted to name his first son Elijah after my father. Elijah, I said. His name is Elijah. For a moment, the pain faded. Watching that tiny chest rise and fall, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, purpose. The next few days blurred together. Doctors came and went. Social workers visited. Police asked more questions. I barely slept. I stayed by Elijah's side from morning till night, afraid that if I left, something might happen. Then one morning, Ava came back. She looked exhausted but determined. Ellie, we found something, she said. Marcus changed his will 2 weeks before he died. He left everything. His savings, his insurance, to his future children, not to Sloane. I froze. He knew? He must have suspected she was pregnant, Ava said. He wanted to protect his child. I felt tears rise again. He died protecting that baby. He died because he loved his child. Ava nodded. We think that's exactly why she killed him. The horror of it made my stomach twist. My son had seen the danger coming and still couldn't escape it. Ava continued. We traced the life insurance money Sloane received. She got $200,000 after Marcus's death. 2 weeks later, she transferred everything to an offshore account. She's been planning this for months. I gripped the edge of the table. She murdered Marcus for money, and when she found out she couldn't access the rest without the baby being gone too, she tried to kill him. That's our theory, Ava said, but we need to find her to prove it. I stared at the detective. And what happens to Elijah now? Marcy answered, her voice calm but cold. He remains in state custody until the investigation is over. After that, we'll decide what's best for him. What's best for him? I repeated bitterly. He has no one left but me. I'm what's best for him. I understand, she said gently, that there are procedures. You'll have to apply for temporary custody. I nodded slowly. Then I'll do whatever it takes. That evening, Reverend Thomas came to see me. He prayed quietly beside Elijah's incubator. When he finished, he said, God gave you this child for a reason, Ellie. You were meant to find him. I don't know if I believe that, I said. I just know I can't let him go. The next week was filled with paperwork. I underwent interviews, background checks, even a psychological evaluation. Every form felt like a test I had to pass to prove I was worthy of loving my own grandson. The young psychologist with sharp glasses asked me, "Why do you want to take care of this child?" "Because he's my son's child," I said simply, "because Marcus gave his life for him." "Are you trying to replace your son?" she asked softly. I shook my head. "No, I'm trying to honor him." She wrote something down. I couldn't tell if it was good or bad. Diane stopped by daily. She became my rock. She showed me how to hold Elijah properly, how to feed him, how to burp him. Every time I held him, I felt Marcus near, like he was standing behind me, smiling. "See, Mama?" I imagined him saying. "You're doing it again. You're saving me all over." 2 weeks later, Marcy returned with an update. "You've completed all the initial steps, Miss Whitlock. If everything goes well, you could get temporary custody in about 6 weeks." 6 weeks? It felt like forever. "In the meantime," she said, "Elijah will stay in foster care once he's released from the hospital." "No," I said firmly. "He's staying here until he's ready. I'll stay too." She smiled sadly. "I wish it worked like that." "But the rules—" "To hell with the rules," I interrupted. "That's my grandson." Marcy sighed. "I'm sorry, but we all have to follow the system." When she left, I cried quietly in the waiting room. I felt helpless, trapped between grief and bureaucracy. That night, Diane sat beside me again. "Eat something," she said, handing me a sandwich. I shook my head. "I can't. Not until I know he's safe." She put her hand on mine. "You saved him once, Ellie. You'll do it again." The next day brought another shock. Ava came back with a grim face. "We found something else," she said. Sloane's last known address was empty, but her car was parked outside an abandoned cabin 20 miles north. Inside, we found blood-stained towels and a birth kit. My stomach turned. So she really did give birth alone. "Yes," Ava said. "We also found a receipt for fuel and food bought 3 days before you saw her at the lake. Everything matches." "Did you find her?" "No," Ava said. "But we're close. We found footprints around the cabin, and one of them was small, like a woman's shoe, size 7, Sloane's size. The thought that she was still out there made me shiver." Ava continued, "Until we catch her, you need to be careful. If she learns the baby survived, she might come back." "I'll be ready," I said, my voice shaking. 2 nights later, as I sat by Elijah's bed, he opened his eyes for the first time. They were dark, Marcus's eyes. I gasped. "Hi, sweetheart," I whispered. "It's Grandma." He blinked slowly, his tiny fingers curling around my finger. It was such a small thing, but it felt like a miracle. I spent hours just watching him breathe, memorizing every sound, every movement. I didn't care about time anymore. I just wanted him to live. The following morning, Ava called me into her office at the hospital. "We found something you should see," she said. She placed a photo on the table, Marcus's car taken after the crash. When we re-examined it, we discovered tool marks on the brake line. Someone cut it intentionally. I swallowed hard. Sloane did it. "She hired someone," Ava said. "A mechanic named Calvin Jones. He confessed she paid him to tamper with the brakes. He said she promised him $5,000, but only gave him 2 before the accident." I felt the room spin. "So it's true. She planned it all." "Yes," Ava said quietly. "We have a warrant for her arrest for murder and attempted homicide. But she's vanished. She hasn't used her phone, credit cards, or ID in weeks." "She'll come back," I said. "She always does. Evil never hides forever." That night, I went home for the first time in days. The house was still and dark. I walked to Marcus's room. His things were still there. His books, his guitar, his photos. I sat on his bed and cried for a long time. Then I heard it, a small cry from the back of my mind, like an echo of that night by the lake. I closed my eyes and remembered the cold water, the weight of the suitcase, the tiny body in my arms. "I'll protect him, Marcus," I whispered. "I promise." The next morning, I woke up with new determination. I called Marcy. "Tell me what I have to do to get custody. Everything. No matter how hard. I'll do it." She sounded surprised. "All right, Miss Whitlock. I'll send you the full list today. Within hours, she emailed me pages of requirements, background check, home inspection, income verification, psychological evaluation, references, even a 40-hour childcare course. I printed it all and stared at the papers. 40 hours? I muttered. Fine, I'll do it. Every damn one. For the first time in months, I felt purpose again. Not grief, not anger, just a fierce, unshakable will. Because now Elijah wasn't just a baby I found in a suitcase. He was my grandson, my reason to keep living. And nothing, not Sloan, not the system, not fear, was going to take him from me. The house was quiet. Elijah had finally fallen asleep after a long evening of fussing. I was sitting in the living room, staring at the paperwork spread across the coffee table, forms, background checks, endless government words. The clock showed 11:47 p.m. Then the phone rang. The sound made me jump. At that hour, no one ever called except hospitals or emergencies. I grabbed the receiver. Hello? There was silence, only the faint sound of breathing. Hello? I said again. Who is this? Then a voice came through, soft but sharp. Ellie. My blood turned to ice. I knew that voice. Sloan? A low, humorless laugh echoed on the line. You sound surprised. My throat tightened. Where are you? That doesn't matter, she said. What matters is that you have something that belongs to me. I have nothing of yours, I said firmly. Oh, but you do, she whispered. You have my son. My stomach dropped. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. You mean the baby you tried to drown? That boy? Watch your tone, she snapped. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know exactly what you did. I saw you throw that suitcase into the lake. I saw what was inside. You tried to kill your own child. A small pause, then a cold laugh. You always were dramatic, Ellie. You don't know the full story. Marcus wasn't who you think he was. Don't you dare talk about my son, I shouted, my voice breaking. Go ahead, she said. Call the police. They won't trace this number. It's a burner. I just wanted to give you a chance. A choice. What choice? I asked, my heart hammering. You bring me my baby, she said slowly, and you give me the money Marcus left, the insurance, the accounts, everything. Then I disappear, and you never see me again. And if I refuse? Her voice turned dark. Then I'll come get him myself. I know where you live. Don't think those security cameras will stop me. I felt cold all over. You're insane. No, Ellie, she said calmly. I'm just a mother trying to get her child back. You're a murderer. Call it what you want. But remember this, the law is on my side. I'm his biological mother. And when they find me, I'll tell them you kidnapped him. Said Juliet, that you made up everything about the lake to keep him. I swallowed hard, my hand shaking. You're bluffing. Am I? She said quietly. Meet me tomorrow night. The old boathouse by the lake. Midnight. Bring the baby and the money. Come alone. If I see one cop, you'll never find me again. Sloan, wait, but the line went dead. For a moment, I just sat there, frozen, the receiver still pressed to my ear. The house was so quiet I could hear the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Then panic set in. My heart pounded. My hand shook. I grabbed my cell phone and dialed Ava. She answered on the second ring. Ellie, what's wrong? She called me, I said breathlessly. Sloan called me. What? When? Just now. She says she wants me to bring Elijah and the money to the boathouse tomorrow at midnight. Did she threaten you? She said if I don't come, she'll come here. She knows where I live, Ava. She said she's his mother, that she'll take him back. Did you record the call? Ava asked quickly. Yes, I said. On my cell. I hit record halfway through. Good, Ava said. That's exactly what you needed. Don't worry, Ellie. We'll set up a trap. Trap? Yes. You'll go to the meeting, but we'll be there. Hidden, ready. We'll arrest her the moment she shows up. What if she sees you? What if she runs? She won't, Ava said firmly. We'll make sure of it. But you can't tell anyone else. Not even Diane or Marcy. Only us. My hands were still shaking. And Elijah? He won't be anywhere near that boathouse, Ava said. We'll keep him safe. I'll send a nurse to take him somewhere secure for the night. I don't want him far, I said. Please. I promise, she said. He'll be safe. After she hung up, I sat in silence, staring at the dark window. The reflection of my own face looked like a stranger's, pale, tired, terrified. I went to Elijah's crib. He was sleeping peacefully, his tiny chest rising and falling. I touched his cheek gently. It's going to be okay, I whispered. Grandma's going to make sure you're safe. I promise. The next day crawled by like a nightmare in slow motion. Diane came over in the morning to check on Elijah. I tried to act normal, but she noticed. You look pale, she said. Did you sleep at all? Not much, I said, forcing a smile. She picked up Elijah, cooing at him. He's getting stronger every day. You should be proud. I am, I said softly. More than you'll ever know. I wanted to tell her about Sloane's call, about the plan, but I couldn't. Ava's warning echoed in my head. No one else can know. At 2 p.m., Ava and 2 officers arrived in plain clothes. They set up their equipment, microphones, radios, and a small black box that looked like something from a spy movie. Ava spread a map across my dining table. This is the boathouse, she said, pointing. It's been abandoned for 5 years. It has 3 entrances. We'll cover all of them. Where will I be? I asked. You'll go in through the main door. We'll be inside, hidden. You'll be wearing this. She handed me a small device, a button-sized microphone. It records everything you say. If you press this part 3 times, it sends an emergency signal. That's our cue to move in. I looked at it nervously. And what do I do until then? Keep her talking, Ava said. She loves control. Let her brag. Let her confess. What if she's armed? Then you press that button 3 times and we go in immediately. Don't hesitate. I nodded, though my stomach churned. That evening, I fed Elijah one last time. His tiny hands gripped my finger as if he sensed my fear. Diane arrived just before sunset. I'll take care of him, she promised. You have my word. I know, I said, kissing Elijah's forehead. Be good, my little one. Grandma will be back soon. When Diane drove away with him, my heart cracked. I stood in the doorway long after the car disappeared, the empty house echoing with silence. At 10 p.m., Ava came to pick me up. Ready? She asked. As I'll ever be. She gave me a reassuring look. We'll be right behind you. Nothing will happen to you, Ellie. I promise. The ride to the lake felt endless. Every shadow on the road looked like movement. Every sound made my heart race. When we reached the boathouse, it was just as I remembered, old, rotting, silent. The wooden walls leaned to one side, and the windows were broken. The moonlight shimmered on the lake, turning everything silver. Ava whispered through the radio. Snipers in position. Team's ready. Then she turned to me. Go when you're ready. I took a deep breath. My hand brushed the hidden microphone beneath my sweater. I stepped out of the car. The night air was cold and smelled of wet earth. Crickets sang in the distance. I walked slowly toward the boathouse, my shoes crunching on gravel. The door creaked as I pushed it open. Inside was darkness, thick, heavy darkness. Sloane? I called softly. Close the door, a voice said from the shadows. My heart skipped. I did as she said. My eyes adjusted slowly, and then I saw her, standing in the center of the room, wearing dark clothes, her hair cut short and dyed blonde. But it was her. You came, she said, her voice dripping with amusement. I wasn't sure you would. I said I would, I replied, trying to sound calm. Where's my son? She asked sharply. He's safe, I said. But before you see him, I want to understand why. Why did you do all this? She smirked. Why does anyone do anything, Ellie? For freedom, for money, for a better life. You murdered Marcus, I said. You tried to kill Elijah. Marcus was weak, she said coldly. He wanted a family, a house, a boring life. I wanted more. When I found out I was pregnant, I saw everything slipping away. So I made a choice. You call that a choice? I said, my voice trembling. You call murder a choice? She shrugged. Marcus changed his will, remember? He left everything to the baby. That ruined everything. So yes, I made a choice. I took control. My heart pounded. Every word she spoke was being recorded, transmitted straight to Ava and her team. You hired someone to cut the brakes, I said. Her lips curled into a small smile. Calvin? Yes. A pathetic man with debts. It was easy. A few $1,000s, and he'd do anything. It was the best investment I ever made. I felt rage boil inside me. And the baby? She laughed softly. You mean Elijah? I didn't even name him. He was just an obstacle. I gave birth in that cabin, wrapped him up, and when I looked at him, I saw Marcus. I couldn't stand it. So I went to the lake, your precious lake, and ended it. You're a monster, I said. Maybe, she said. But I'm a free monster. Now, where's my son? I took a small step back. He's not here. I wanted to talk first. Her eyes narrowed. You lied to me. She pulled something from her jacket. The moonlight glinted on metal. A gun. My breath caught. Tell me where he is, she demanded. I pressed the panic button 3 times. You'll never get him, I said. He's safe now. You'll never hurt him again. Her finger tightened on the trigger. There was a deafening crack. Pain shot through my shoulder like fire. I fell backward, the world spinning. Then everything exploded, lights, shouting, movement. Police! Drop your weapon. Sloan turned, screaming, waving the gun wildly. Ava's voice echoed through the chaos. Put it down, Sloan. But Sloan didn't listen. She pointed the gun toward the nearest officer. Before she could fire, 2 officers tackled her to the ground. The gun clattered away. She screamed curses, her voice wild, unhinged. Get off me. You ruined everything. Ave rushed to my side. Ellie, stay still. You're hit. I'm fine, I gasped, clutching my shoulder. Did you get her? We got her, Ava said. It's over. I let out a shaky breath as the paramedics rushed in. The pain was sharp, but the relief was stronger. It was finally over. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, I looked back at Sloan. Her face twisted with rage, her hair wild, her hands cuffed. She screamed something I couldn't make out. The last thing I saw before the ambulance doors closed was Ava standing over her, calm and unflinching. Inside the ambulance, the medic pressed gauze against my wound. You're lucky, he said. An inch closer and it would have hit your heart. I closed my eyes. It wasn't luck, I whispered. It was Marcus. Sloane's arrest was only the beginning, and the fight for Elijah was far from over. I woke up in a hospital bed, wrapped in white sheets, my shoulder bandaged tight. The steady beep of a heart monitor was the only sound in the room. My body ached, but I was alive. For a moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then everything came rushing back. The boathouse, the gunshot, Sloane's face twisted with rage. I shuddered. A nurse entered, smiling gently. Good morning, Miss Whitlock. You're safe now. How long have I been here? I asked. 2 days, she said. You had surgery to remove the bullet. You're healing well. 2 days, I whispered. Where's Elijah? Before she could answer, the door opened and Detective Ava walked in. She looked exhausted but relieved. Hey, Ellie. You scared us. Where's my grandson? I asked again, my voice trembling. He's fine, Ava said. He's with Diane. She's been taking care of him at the hospital's family ward. He's healthy, gaining weight, and sleeping a lot. I sighed in relief. Thank God. Ava pulled a chair closer. You did incredibly brave work, Ellie. We got everything on tape. Sloan confessed to everything, the sabotage, the murder, the attempt on the baby. It's airtight. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison. I nodded slowly. It's over then. Ava hesitated. Legally, yes. But I looked at her. But what? She sighed. There's something you need to know. Sloane's lawyer filed a motion. A motion? For what? For custody. My eyes widened. What? She's claiming mental instability at the time of the incident, Eva said. Her lawyer argues she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. They want her to be declared temporarily insane and placed in a psychiatric facility instead of prison. If that happens, she could become eligible for supervised visitation with Elijah. No, I whispered. No, that can't happen. I'm fighting it, Ava said. But it's not up to me. The court will decide. My heart sank. After everything, after Marcus, after the lake, after the gunshot, the woman who tried to kill her own child might still get to see him. She doesn't deserve to breathe the same air as him, I said bitterly. I agree, Ava said softly. But the law doesn't always work the way we want it to. That night, Diane came to visit with Elijah. When she walked into the room, carrying him in her arms, I burst into tears. There's my little fighter, I whispered, reaching for him. Diane gently placed him in my arms. His skin was warm, his tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb. He missed you, she said, smiling. I missed him more, I whispered. I'll never let him out of my sight again. For a few minutes, everything else faded. The pain, the fear, the chaos. It was just me and Elijah. His soft breathing soothed me in a way medicine never could. When Diane left, Ava stayed behind. We'll need you to testify in court, Allie, she said. About everything that happened, the call, the meeting, the shooting. It's going to be tough. I'll do whatever it takes, I said. I'm not afraid anymore. But that was a lie. Because deep down, I was terrified. Not of Sloane this time, but of losing Elijah. 3 weeks later, I sat in a courtroom that smelled faintly of polish and old paper. Sloane sat across the room in a pale blue jumpsuit, her wrists chained, her expression blank. When our eyes met, she smiled, that same cold, poisonous smile I'd seen the night of the boathouse. My stomach twisted. The judge entered, and the bailiff called the session to order. Sloane's lawyer, a slick man with silver hair, stood up. Your Honor, my client suffers from postpartum psychosis and was in a delusional state during the events in question. She deserves treatment, not punishment. I wanted to scream. Ava leaned close to me. Stay calm. We'll speak soon. Then the defense began playing the recording from the boathouse, the one where Sloane confessed to everything. Her voice filled the courtroom like poison. I took control. Marcus was weak. He ruined everything. I made a choice. Gas rippled through the room. Even the judge's face hardened. When the recording ended, Ava stood. Your Honor, the prosecution moves to deny all claims of temporary insanity. This was premeditated murder and attempted homicide. Sloane planned it, paid for it, and executed it in cold blood. The judge nodded slowly. Noted? Then it was my turn. I walked to the witness stand, my heart pounding. Ava guided me through each question carefully. Mrs. Whitlock, can you tell the court what you saw on the day of the incident? I took a deep breath. I saw her throw a suitcase into the lake. I heard crying from inside. When I opened it, there was a baby, my grandson, fighting to breathe. The courtroom went silent. I continued, my voice breaking. She left him there to die. And if I hadn't been looking out that window, he would have drowned. She wanted to erase my son's memory, erase everything good in this world. Sloane looked away, her jaw tight. When I stepped down, Ava squeezed my hand. You did great. After closing arguments, the judge took a recess. I waited in the hallway, my nerves shredded. Diane sat beside me, holding my hand. You did the right thing, she said softly. I hope the court sees it that way, I whispered. After what felt like an eternity, the bailiff called us back. The judge looked solemn. This court finds the defendant, Sloane Whitlock, guilty on all counts, first-degree murder, attempted homicide, and child endangerment. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. However, the judge continued, based on the psychological evaluation presented, the defendant will serve her sentence at the state psychiatric rehabilitation facility until such time as she is deemed mentally stable. My relief turned to disbelief. What? I whispered under my breath. Ava clenched her jaw. It's not ideal, but it's still life imprisonment under medical care. She won't be free. I didn't feel reassured. As they led Sloan out of the courtroom, she turned and looked at me. Her lips moved silently. I couldn't hear her, but I could read the words, "I'll see him again." The next few months were a blur of healing and paperwork. I finally got temporary custody of Elijah. The day the judge signed the papers, I cried harder than I did at Marcus's funeral, this time from joy. I painted the nursery pale yellow and hung a photo of Marcus on the wall. Every night, I read Elijah a story and told him about his father, how kind he was, how he loved to laugh, how much he would loved his little boy. Sometimes I felt Marcus's presence in the house. When Elijah giggled, it sounded like him. When the wind rustled the curtains, I swore I heard his voice whisper, "Thank you, Mom." For a while, life became peaceful again, until the letters started. The first one arrived in January, with no return address. It was written in neat handwriting on plain paper. "He belongs to me. You can't hide him forever." I dropped the letter, my hand shaking. I called Ava immediately. "She's in a psychiatric facility," Ava said. "She couldn't have sent that." "Then who did?" I asked. "We'll find out," Ava promised. "Keep every letter that comes." A week later, another arrived. "He's getting bigger, isn't he? I wonder if he has my eyes." I called Ava again, nearly in tears. "We traced the postmark," she said. "It's from a nearby town. Someone's helping her. Maybe a friend or a relative. We're investigating." Diane stayed over that night. "You're not alone," she told me. "We'll protect you and Elijah." But I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every creak felt like footsteps. One evening, I went outside to bring in the laundry and found muddy footprints near the back porch, small, size 7. My breath caught. I called Ava, my voice trembling. "She's here. Sloane's here." "Stay inside," she ordered. "We're on our way." I locked every door, every window. I held Elijah close, rocking him as his small body squirmed. "It's okay, baby," I whispered. "Grandma's here. No one's going to hurt you." Minutes felt like hours. Then suddenly, glass shattered from the back door. I screamed. A figure stepped inside, dressed in black, face covered. But I knew. I could feel it in my bones. "Sloane!" I shouted. She pulled off the hood. Her hair was shorter now, her face thinner, eyes wild and gleaming. "Did you really think you could keep him from me?" she hissed. "You're supposed to be locked away," I cried. She smiled. "I escaped 2 nights ago. Funny what a little fire can do in a hospital with weak locks." My knees went weak. I grabbed the phone, but she lunged forward and slapped it out of my hand. "Give him to me," she screamed. "Over my dead body," I said, stepping between her and Elijah. Her eyes burned with fury. "That can be arranged." Before I could move, she grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter. I backed up slowly, holding Elijah tight against my chest. My mind raced. No phone, no weapon, no time. Then I saw the panic button Ava had given me weeks ago, still hanging near the front door. If I could just reach it. I kept my voice calm. "Sloane, think about what you're doing. You'll spend the rest of your life running." "I already am," she said, her voice trembling. "But I'm not running without my son." She took another step forward. The knife glinted under the light. I inched backward, closer to the panic button. My hand brushed the wall, just a few more inches. "Stop moving," she screamed. "Hand him over." "Please," I whispered. "He's scared." Her eyes flickered toward Elijah, just for a second. It was all I needed. I hit the panic button. A loud alarm blared through the house. Sloane screamed in rage. "You stupid old woman!" She lunged at me. I turned sideways, shielding Elijah with my body. The knife sliced across my arm, burning with pain. Then, through the chaos, I heard sirens in the distance, growing louder. Sloane froze. For a moment, she looked almost human, terrified, desperate, lost. Then she turned and ran out the back door. By the time the police arrived, she was gone. Ava burst in, gun drawn. "Ellie, are you okay?" I nodded, shaking. She was here. She had a knife. She said she escaped. Ava's face turned pale. She lit a fire at the facility. 3 patients and 1 guard are dead. She's on the run. Diane took Elijah from my arms as Ava examined my wound. "We'll find her," Ava promised. "We won't stop this time." But her voice, steady as it was, couldn't calm the fear that had returned to my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the rocking chair with Elijah in my arms, watching the shadows on the wall. Every creak, every whisper of wind made me flinch. "She's coming back," I whispered to the empty room. "I can feel it." Outside, the wind howled across the lake. Somewhere in the distance, a branch snapped, or maybe footsteps. And deep down, I knew Sloane wasn't finished yet. 3 days passed after the break-in. The police stayed parked outside my house day and night. Floodlights surrounded the property. But no matter how many cars they sent or how many officers stood guard, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching. I felt her eyes in every shadow, her voice in every gust of wind. Detective Ava visited daily. She barely slept, chasing leads across counties. Every time she came, she had the same news. "We're close. She's out there." But she smirked. "She's hiding in plain sight." I didn't ask how close. I just looked at Elijah and prayed. He was almost 6 months old now, smiling, cooing, reaching for my face with chubby fingers. He didn't know the world he'd been born into, and I was determined to keep it that way. On the 4th night after the attack, the house was quiet. Diane had gone home, and the police cruiser outside hummed with its headlights dimmed. Elijah had just fallen asleep. I sat by the window with a cup of tea, staring at the moonlit water. Then faintly, I heard something, the low crunch of gravel on the driveway. I froze. The tea slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. I turned off the lamp and peeked through the curtain. A dark van had stopped near the gate, engine still running. 2 figures stepped out, one tall, one shorter, both wearing black. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. I reached for the phone, but before I could dial, the power went out. The lights, the hum of the refrigerator, everything went silent. Darkness swallowed the room. "Elijah," I whispered, rushing to his crib. He stirred softly but didn't cry. I held him close, pressing his head against my shoulder. Then I heard the sound I dreaded, the click of the back door. They were inside. I backed away, clutching Elijah. My eyes adjusted slowly to the moonlight streaming through the window. 2 silhouettes moved through the hallway. "Sloane," I breathed. She stepped into the light, hair matted, eyes wild. Her face was gaunt, her hands trembling. Beside her stood a man I'd never seen before, tall, heavyset, with a scar across his cheek. He held a gun. "Hello, Ellie," she said softly. "Miss me?" "You need to leave," I said firmly, my voice shaking. "There are police outside." She smiled. "Not anymore. My friend here took care of that." The man grinned, waving the gun toward the window. I looked out. The cruiser was empty, its tires slashed. My knees went weak. "What do you want?" I whispered. "You already know," Sloane said. "I came for my son." "You mean my grandson," I said, tightening my hold on Elijah. Her eyes narrowed. "He's mine. You can't keep him. You can't take everything from me." "I didn't take anything," I said. "You did this. You killed Marcus. You tried to kill your own baby. You did this to yourself." Her voice cracked. "You think I don't know that? You think I don't live with it every night?" I see his face when I close my eyes. I hear him scream when a car hit the guardrail. I hear him begging me to stop. For a split second, the rage in her eyes melted into something else, pain. "You don't deserve forgiveness," I said quietly. But I still pity you." She laughed, a hollow sound. "Save your pity. I didn't come here to be saved. I came to finish what I started." She nodded to the man. "Take the baby." "No!" I shouted, stepping back. He lunged forward, but I turned and ran toward the hallway. My shoulders still hurt from the last wound, but I didn't stop. I clutched Elijah close, every instinct in me screaming protect him. Behind me, I heard Sloane yelling, "Get her! Don't let her leave!" I ran toward the stairs, heart pounding. But the moment I reached the top step, the man grabbed my arm and yanked me back. I screamed. Elijah started crying. The man growled, "Give me the kid, old lady." I swung my elbow back with all the strength I had. It hit him square in the jaw. He stumbled, cursing. I turned and ran into Marcus's old room, slamming the door behind me. I locked it and pushed a dresser against the handle. Elijah was sobbing now, his tiny body trembling. "Shh, baby, it's okay," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Grandma's here. You're safe." A heavy thud hit the door. Then another. The man was trying to break it down. I looked around desperately. No phone. No escape. Then my eyes landed on the window. It opened onto the porch roof, just a few feet from the ground. I pulled it open and climbed out, clutching Elijah tight. The cold air hit my face. I stepped carefully onto the slanted roof. The wind whipped at my hair, the night full of sirens far in the distance. "Where are you, Ellie?" Sloane's voice echoed from below. "You can't run forever." I crouched low, inching toward the edge. My plan was insane, but it was all I had. If I could reach the tree by the corner of the porch, I could climb down. Then I heard the sound of the door breaking. Heavy footsteps pounded into the room I'd just left. "There she is," the man shouted. He climbed through the window after me. I slid down the roof and jumped. My feet hit the ground hard, pain shooting up my legs. I didn't stop. I ran across the yard toward the woods, clutching Elijah close to my chest. Branches whipped my face. The ground was wet and slippery, but I kept going. Behind me, I heard them crashing through the trees. "Ellie!" Sloane screamed. "Give him to me!" I ignored her. I focused on the beam of the moonlight ahead, the faint shimmer of the lake beyond the trees. I reached the water's edge, gasping for air. The lake looked calm, almost peaceful. The same lake where I had first found Elijah, the same lake that had nearly taken him. I turned to face her. She emerged from the shadows, panting, her hair plastered to her face. The man followed, gun still in hand. "It's over," I said. "You're not taking him." She smiled weakly. "You're right. It is over." She turned to the man. "Do it." He raised the gun, but before he could pull the trigger, red and blue lights flashed through the trees. "Police! Drop your weapon!" Ava's voice echoed like thunder. The man spun around, startled. In that split second, I threw a handful of dirt in his eyes. He fired blindly. The bullet whizzed past my ear. Ava and her team burst through the trees. "Put the gun down," she shouted. The man turned to run but didn't get far. A single shot rang out. He fell face first into the mud. Sloane screamed, falling to her knees. "No. No, no, no." Eva approached, her gun steady. "It's over, Sloane. Don't make this worse." Sloane looked up at me, tears mixing with the rain that had begun to fall. "I just want him back," she whispered. "I just want my family." "You destroyed your family," I said quietly, "and you almost destroyed him." Eva's team handcuffed her as she sobbed. "He's all I had," she whispered. "He was all I had left of Marcus." I looked at her for a long moment. There was no anger left in me, only sorrow. "Then you should have loved him enough to let him live." Eva put a hand on my shoulder. "You're safe now, Ellie. It's finally over." I looked down at Elijah, who had stopped crying. His big dark eyes blinked up at me. "We're safe," I whispered. "We made it." Weeks passed. Sloane was sent back to the psychiatric facility, this time under maximum security. The newspapers called it the Lake Baby case. Reporters camped outside my driveway for days, but eventually the noise faded. Elijah and I began to heal. I started planting flowers again, something I hadn't done since Marcus died. The house no longer felt like a place of ghosts. It felt like a home again. One afternoon, Ava visited. She looked different, tired, but content. She brought a small box. "What's this?" I asked. She smiled. "Evidence that's no longer needed. Thought you might want it." Inside was the little blue blanket Elijah had been wrapped in the night I found him. I held it to my chest, tears filling my eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. "You did more than most people ever would," Ava said softly. "You saved him twice." I smiled faintly. Maybe he saved me too. When she left, I sat by the window holding Elijah, watching the sunset over the lake. The water sparkled in shades of gold and pink, calm at last. "You see that?" I whispered to him. "That's where your life began. And it's where mine began again, too." He giggled, reaching for the light with tiny fingers. For the first time in years, I felt peace. 5 years later, Elijah ran through the yard, his laughter echoing through the air. He was tall for his age, his hair dark and curly like Marcus's. He wore a little blue backpack and carried a stick like it was a sword. "Grandma, look! I'm a knight!" he shouted. I laughed, setting down the gardening shears. "A brave one, too." He grinned and ran to me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "When I grow up, I'm gonna protect you, Grandma, just like you protected me." My eyes filled with tears. "You already do, sweetheart." Later that evening, we sat on the porch watching fireflies dance over the lake. The air smelled of rain and honeysuckle. Elijah rested his head on my shoulder. "Grandma," he said softly, "did my mommy love me?" The question hit me like a wave. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Finally, I said, "She was very sick, Elijah." Sometimes when people are sick, they do things they can't understand. But yes, in her own way, I believe she did. He nodded slowly. "Then I forgive her." Tears rolled down my cheeks. "That's a good heart you have, my boy." He smiled. "You have one, too." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I looked at the lake, calm, still, beautiful. The same lake that once held pain now reflected peace. Marcus was gone. Sloan was gone. But Elijah was here, alive, strong, loved. And for the first time in a long, long while, I didn't feel alone. Years later, when Elijah graduated high school, he walked across that stage and looked straight at me in the audience. He smiled, that same smile Marcus used to have. I knew then that everything I had fought for, every scar, every tear, every sleepless night, it was all worth it. Because he was worth it. When people asked me about my story, I told them it wasn't about tragedy. It was about love, the kind of love that refuses to die, even when the world turns dark. And sometimes when I sit by the lake at sunset, I can almost hear Marcus's voice again, carried by the wind. "You did it, Mom. You saved us both." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs hope tonight. Because sometimes, even in the darkest moments, a little love can bring you back to life.